Let's take a look at the preliminary stages of standing asanas. Typically in Iyengar Yoga, we jump the feet 5 feet apart to prepare for any of the standing poses. Of course, if we've got issues with hips, knees, ankles, those kinds of things, we step. So this is a jump. And this is a step. So we try and coordinate arms and legs, coming in, going out. The jump is more dynamic. So we're going to do that 5 times, either jumping or stepping. Let's do it together. When I'm jumping, just pay attention here. I want to bring my arms out and in simultaneously with the legs. Okay, so there's a little bit more going on with the jumpings. So jumping or stepping. Doing 5 times, or we're stepping out and in, out and in. Okay. And then we stand in Tadasana. So just see how that action of moving in and out has started to increase the circulation, the heartbeat. So it gets us ready for dynamic poses. So when we say to the students, take your feet apart, it's not like this. So I just take one leg out to the side. We want to do everything in even and equal parts. So I walk them in. I hope you're practicing with me, walk them out. Try to start to feel. Then we have a sense of proprioception, where we're moving in space. Okay, coming back to Tadasana, we're either going to jump or step our feet apart. Take the feet at least 5 feet apart. Generally, if we want to get really scientific about it, it's the length of your leg. Width is how your feet should be apart. How to know what that is, as you can imagine, a little challenging. So we take a look to see alignment, all 10 toes pointing forward, pressing into the outer edges of the feet, lifting the inner ankles up. And we're going to work on the preliminary stage of Utthita Hasta Padasana. So this is the very preliminary stage before we do any of the standing poses. So what you're going to do is pick your right foot up slightly. So I'm on my heel now. I'm going to take the toes down, bend the leg, pick the heel up, pivot. So then I have heel and arch alignment. And then bring the left foot in. Okay, let's start from scratch again. Bend, come back to neutral. Let's do the other side. So take the right foot in slightly, lift the left toes up, pivot. So you're on the heel, then place the toes down, bend your leg, rotate your heel inward, inject the femur bone into the hip flexor. So for students that have difficulty with external rotation, this really helps get the femur bone into the hip flexor. Okay, so we'll take that back to neutral, jump or step 5 feet apart. So we're going to do this a few times. A couple things to watch out for: any excessive pulling at the ligament of the knee. So really feel like the quadricep muscles are doing their job here. The back foot goes in about 45 degrees, okay? And if there's any instability in your feet, it's really nice to have the outer edge of the back foot up against the wall. So let's take the left foot in, pick the right toes up, pivot on the heel, lower the toes down, lift the heel up, pivot the heel forward. So I've over-exaggerated the movement of my foot here because I want to increase external rotation. So I've taken the toes a little bit out diagonally to the side. So you can see how this could set you up for, say, Trikonasana or Virabhadrasana 2, those kinds of poses, right? So then when you're coming out, you neutralize, back to the front. Let's do the other side. Back foot in, toes up, pick the heel up, pivot, inject the heel into the hip flexor. Again, could set you up nicely for Trikonasana. Rotate toes back, jump, or step your feet back to Tadasana. So the jumping also helps to work on balance. Okay, what happens if my hips are really tight? What we're going to do is play with what's called a crossover stance. So again, these are the preliminary stages of the legs before we get into standing poses. So jumping or stepping, what I'm going to do is take my right foot across diagonally and my left foot back. So see how the right leg is forward of the left leg. So they're not any longer in heel and arch alignment. If the pelvis is tight, this helps to open up the pelvis and create equanimity. Otherwise, if I try to jam myself into that heel and arch alignment, it's too tight, and I will do this, right? Which is going to mean that I will compromise the spine. So let's try this crossover stance and just do a very preliminary stage of Trikonasana, triangle pose. Observe your hips. And then come up, toes forward. I would recommend stepping in because you're diagonal here. Jump or step. Let's take the left foot forward of the right. Then you could use a wall for the back leg for stabilizing. And then what I like to do is line up the inner line of my foot with the outer edge of the mat. And then this could be Virabhadrasana 2, right? So we can play with any of those variations. This is quite nice for Vira 2 because it really helps to get stability into the hips, this crossover stance. And then we bring the feet back, scissor them together, and stand in Tadasana. So what I would recommend is repeating a few of these stances a few times till you kind of nail it. The pivoting of the foot, try the crossover stance, notice what you notice, see what feels better in your body. Better would equal space here. So what feels like it gives you more space, more availability, and play with a few poses, maybe Virabhadrasana 2 and Trikonasana as I demonstrated. Happy practicing.